This is not a test. You are listening to Universal Connection Radio, where everyone is on the same frequency.
Hello and welcome. Before I introduce our guest today, I would first like to introduce myself. My name is Roxanne Lynch Sartori. I am a master life coach, a neuro-linguistic practitioner, a hypnotist, a law of attraction practitioner, a master Reiki healer, and an author, and I'm now bringing all of this together. I'm the presenter and host of Universal Connection Radio, where everyone is on the same frequency. And today's episode is titled Beyond the Crossroads. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing Mr. Michael Rawlings, the author of The Enlightenment of Jason Albrecht, a beautiful book which, if you have not had the pleasure of reading, I suggest you do so. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Roxanne. Happy to be here.
I'm delighted to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Well, you know, we spoke the other day, and you invited me to the program, and it just occurred to me that this is a wonderful vision you have, establishing some dialogue that may be helpful to others. And I'm just, with gratitude, so pleased to be a part of your effort, and looking forward to the interview.
And Michael, thank you for joining us. I'm saying it again because it's so important that we come together on this. Thank you. Would you give us a brief description of your book and where it's available, Michael?
Well, thank you for that. I often say it feels like an unseemly presumption to give a commercial about a book on this matter, on such subject matter of personal spirituality and personal search. So with the risk of unseemly presumption, let me give a little commercial for the book, and then we can move forward.
Please do.
My name is Michael Rawlings, and I've written this modest little book on spirituality. It's called The Enlightenment of Jason Albrecht. The Enlightenment of Jason Albrecht is available as a softcover bound book and a downloadable ebook from the publisher Archway Publishing, which is a division of Simon & Schuster, and of course most other online services such as Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, local bookstore by special order, that sort of thing. I've got a Facebook page in my name and a page in the name of the title of the book, The Enlightenment of Jason Albrecht. So I hope your listeners will visit those pages and enjoy the posts.
Absolutely. I expect that they will, Michael. Now, I have read your book, and it's a beautiful book. It really is. It took me on such a wonderful journey right beside Jason, the main character. And Jason, in the book, is a carpenter. Is there any connection to Jason and the other carpenter we all know from the Bible?
Well, no, it wasn't intended to be so. Although I must confess, after putting the book out there and reading the lining notes, which I, of course, wrote for the book, it occurred to me that people might make that connection, might wonder that very question. But actually, when I was writing the manuscript, my central character, I wanted to be a hands-on, sort of grounded person, someone who likes to make things, and carpentry and working with wood gave him some independence and some creative imagery, and really that was the only reason why I picked carpenter as an occupation for the central character.
And it made him such a real person. It made him so likable also. There's something about people who work with their hands that makes them so real. It's earthy.
Well, that was my intention, and I appreciate the comment, Roxanne.
Yeah, definitely. You have often mentioned in your posts and conversations we've had and we've had some wonderful conversations, exo, supra, and subliminality. Could you explain this in detail to us, Michael, please?
Yes, happy to do so. It's, of course, one of the central themes of the book. It's, for lack of a better description, an intellectual model that gives some concreteness to the subject matter. Before I sort of go there, maybe I should explain a little bit about where this book came from. A couple of years ago, I began developing this story sort of as a manuscript, thinking that it might be something that would be useful in talking with my kids and family members about spiritual matters. We all struggle with the loss of family and friends, and
yes,
of course with our own mortality. And as I get older, I simply wanted to have a vehicle to be in the conversation with kids. It's such a personal, mysterious kind of thing for people that, it's tough to have a conversation unless you just sort of forge ahead and have some kind of basis. So that was my idea, to develop a fictional story about very real things and offer it to my kids and sort of have an ability to start a conversation and be in a conversation.
What a beautiful idea. Most people don't think about how they're going to explain death and loss and life in general. They just do it.
Well, it's a frightening subject.
It is.
And for that very reason, I wanted to get in a conversation. And, to be honest, the storytelling, the telling of the story as I imagined it and wrote it down in a manuscript, it became very cathartic for myself. And so, it's been a real sort of labor of love, as many say. And so that's where the manuscript came from. It sort of developed into a story that I thought would be fun to publish and put out there publicly. And
yes,
and I've actually had some wonderful responses, particularly from readers 18 to 40 years of age, but also from all ages. And I'm very proud of the book. I think it's an enjoyable and thought-provoking read.
Now, do you, in any way, feel that Jason Albrecht is part of you? Have you been through any of these enlightening experiences he went through?
Well, I think any author would say when writing a fictional story, there's a part of themselves in every character.
Yes.
And even more so with the central character.
Yes. As an author, I can completely concur.
So yes, the answer would be that. There is a meditation technique that is described in the book. It's a technique that I have used for 40 years or so, and so that is a reflection of me. And this concept of subliminality is superluminal self, and a field of exoliminality that you've just asked about. That is something that I've given a lot of thought to personally. And I guess it would be a good time to sort of go into that a little bit and
yes.
try to answer your questions.
Please.
Before we get too far into this, it might be a good idea to just sort of put out there, to state for your listeners that there is a bit of a difficulty in presuming to lay out mental models or intellectual models.
Absolutely.
To even use words to describe something that is often beyond description.
Inadequate.
Yeah. Yes, words are, we've talked about this, words
yes.
are often inadequate. In fact, you might agree that conveying meanings and being in contact with these base issues that we all struggle with, it's often better to find that through the vehicle of art and intuition and imagination. That those seem to go a little further in getting one's
expression
thought process. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put that out there first. I realize that laying these things out is presumptuous. It's not my intent in this interview or in the book to tell people this is the way you should think about it. This is just sort of my way of expressing what makes sense and what is compelling to me.
And I appreciate that, Michael, because I feel the exact same about my beliefs, my opinions, my philosophy. It's mine. But if it can help another person understand, we all come from different understandings, facets of who we are. So therefore, I completely understand what you just said. And thank you for that.
Well, you're exactly right. We all are different, but we are all the same. We are all struggling with issues of mortality, either quietly, subliminally, or outwardly. Everybody has their different comfort level, but we all are, in our quiet moments, struggling with these issues. So, the subliminal, superluminal self.
Yes.
Yes. In the book, one of my aims was to establish the idea that there is common ground among all the religious traditions, and that I wanted to come up with an imagery, a model by which common ground can be seen in this way. So I talk about a spectral frequency of being human, mm-hmm. and I talk about a stratum of vibrational energy, vibrational source energy, if you will, mm-hmm. that exists from a greater to lesser density throughout the universe and in the human experience. My thought was, and my thought is, that as humans, we participate in the mechanics of the universe from a vantage point. There's a sort of subliminal level of our existence as humans, but then there is also a supraliminal level, and there is also a formless consciousness that I have called exoliminality. And I use the liminal or liminality, the part of the subliminal term that we're all familiar with. Mm-hmm. If you look that term up, if you look liminal up, it's described. The definition is that it's a threshold of persona. And that occurred to me that, well, now that makes some sense. If we're conscious beings and the universe is conscious, even though it may be conscious in a form or formlessness,
as sentient,
that is difficult for us, or maybe even impossible for us to understand. Mm-hmm. Still, there is a persona, a threshold. So, in being human, we participate in the universe from this vantage point. There's a subliminal level of our personality, of our self, that is location. Mm-hmm. There is a supraliminal self, which is locale. And then there is a formless field or medium of exchange that I've called superliminality. And within and beyond the five physical senses, which we are tethered to, which we are limited by,
while human beings.
I'm sorry?
While human beings were tethered to this.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. While human beings. That there is this aspect of ourselves that's intrinsic, which is, like you say, is ascendant and is of a different density of vibrational source energy. So that's where this concept of exoliminality, a formless threshold of our intrinsic self, from which all thought and expression comes, a locale in the universe or within our selfness, in a superluminal self, and a subliminal or material manifestation at a more dense level. I often say thought. Where does thought come from? Well, it is my view that thought is a subliminal incubation, and that it actually is imbued on a superliminal level and is an expression of the exoliminal field. So a thought incubates at the subliminal level and then finds the light of day in concept, in thought form, in expression, in words, in actions, and therefore one's actions, one's self-actualization in the world yields self-realization. So it's by this emergence of the expression of the exoliminal field through the supraliminal locale, through the subliminal location of being human, that thought and actions create this edifice, this world that we create for ourselves through
this illusion,
the mysteries of quantum physics. Yes, the illusion. That is what is meant, I think, by the world is an illusion, and source is a timeless source energy is the only singular reality.
Very interesting, very interesting. And I am very much on board with you, completely, actually. I was going to say, you were mentioning thought and the frequency of thought, and all of this is energy. So therefore, in Enlightenment of Jason Albrecht, his journey is actually a journey of finding out that he is energy and he won't die. Yes?
Yes.
Wonderful. What a great way to explain life and death to somebody. Beautiful. And I actually, when my father passed, I came to this realization myself also, that we do not die. We are energy. And energy cannot die. It only transforms, transmutes. And that's what a wonderful feeling to know that.
Yes, it's reassuring. It's that the illusion is not all there is. And the book uses this spectral imagery as opposed to a singular plane. We live, but there's something else. That in and of itself is a duality, and my concept is that there's actually a spectral frequency. The book suggests that there's a spectral frequency of being that is not only human, but a universal manifestation, a great universal connection, a singular and simultaneous expression in location, locale, and in a formless field of potential. It's what is meant by the subliminal, superliminal, and exoliminal self. And I like to say at play in a timeless universe.
Beautiful. What wonderful visualization there, really. And, mentioning this, the formless, the locale, and the location, it's somewhat the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Is there anything there?
That's I'm so happy you asked that question, because that too is a theme in the book. For me, the concept of a spectral frequency of being and densities of resonant source energy seems to accommodate Western and Eastern views alike.
Yes.
It strikes me that there's a similarity with the material, astral, and causal energies that one finds in Eastern religious thought, and the Son, Father, and Holy Ghost of Western religious thought. Mm-hmm. Again, material, Son, subliminal, astral, Father, mm-hmm. Supraliminal, and causal, formless causal, and Holy Ghost, and field of potential. So there just feels like there's a similarity there that accommodates Eastern religious thought, Western religious thought, and actually it seems to me that there is this sort of common expression in various ways in all religious traditions, all spiritual thought throughout our history. Mm-hmm. I think you see it in Buddhist thought, Sikh, Gnostic Christians,
absolutely,
Taoists, Jains, all the Abrahamic doctrines,
yes.
as far back as the earliest writings of spirituality and the early Roman writers about the Elysian fields and other ancient sonnets of human expression. There just seems to be a commonality through it all.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, I think so.
I think so too. And it gives reason to the rhyme. That may sound odd, but it gives reason to the rhyme.
Rhyme, yes.
As in our life, what we're actually doing here. It gives perfect reason to it. Whereas people are like, who am I? What am I doing here? It's a journey. It's the most exciting adventure that anybody could ever embark on. Finding who you actually are.
Let's take that thought just a little further. It seems to me it's not human-centric exclusively. It's not only our journey, that we, each of us and collectively, mm-hmm. are really a microcosm of the whole, the singular soul. Being human, our spiritual manifestation in the world is a mere refraction of a perfect copy of a great singular soul.
Yes.
That is also, or is, I should say, we are also, that is engaged in a process of awakening to a timeless state of becoming. So in the way that we are awakening through our expressions, through our manifestations, the great timeless soul of the universe is awakening to itself timelessly in a singular, timeless process. I think it's what I mean when I write, and I've seen others write, about the flame does not burn itself, but knows itself by its reflection.
Yes.
It's like a child waking to its own persona by its effects.
Finding their hand.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The eye does not see itself except by reflection. That this is a timeless process of becoming as we come to know our being.
And being is knowing.
That being is knowing.
Yes.
And, what is already known, but yet to be seen in realized form. So it's what would be meant by form being the illusion, as only a projection of singular and timeless reality. It's what Eckhart Tolle talks about, mm-hmm. the timeless now.
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. I just realized we only have about 4.5 minutes left. As it turns out, this is a half an hour with Michael Rawlings, speaking about the enlightenment of Jason Albrecht and consciousness, life, us, connection, the universe. Michael.
Yes.
I cannot thank you enough for coming on, speaking with me, and I do hope you will come back again.
Oh, I would love to.
I would love it too. I think we have so much more to discuss. And of course, I've always enjoyed our conversations heading down the road, reaching the crossroads, and then going that step beyond. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Roxanne.
It really is wonderful. One last question for you.
Yes.
What does universal connection mean to you, Michael?
Great question. Well, it is sort of what we've been talking about. I guess let me answer, or try to answer that question from my what is compelling to me by posing another question.
Okay.
Oftentimes, it's good to pose a question as opposed to an explicit answer, because posing a question that provides further color allows people to know the answer within themselves. So let me try this.
Okay.
All right? If, as we know, biological evolution has produced a sentient and self-aware organism, a conscious human being, if biological evolution has produced a conscious organism, and given that the universe or multiverse is replete and complete with all biological sets and natural affinities, material gravities, quantum gravities, all potential material and non-material stuff, known and yet to be known, then how could it be that the universe is not also conscious? For me, it is feasible that a timeless universal conscious state prevails throughout in a manner that a human being cannot really know as long as we're tethered to the 5 physical senses.
Yes.
But I can't conceive of there not being some kind of conscious persona of the universe, given the affinities of natural law, the laws of attraction, I think the word is affinity among forces and materials. If those aspects of biological evolution has produced a conscious, spiritual human being, how could it be that the universe is not also conscious?
I couldn't agree more. With that, Michael, thank you. And as I said, I hope you come back again soon. Michael's book is available on Amazon.com. Its title, once again, is The Enlightenment of Jason Albrecht. Thank you so much, Michael. Really, this has been wonderful.
Thank you, Roxanne, and be well. Be in touch.
Absolutely. You take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And all of you listeners out there, I'd like to thank you for listening. Stay tuned to the universal frequency of connection, and I look forward to bringing more of you onto the Universal Connection Radio, where we can discuss everything. Thank you.